watching Out of the Box podcast. I'm Jim Andre, and I've got my co-host Bradley Powers here, along with a special guest, Heather Cashmoney. How's everybody doing?
Leon. Leon, what's your name? Leon
Fifield.
Fifield. Leon Fifield.
Wait a
Leon
minute now.
Fifield.
I thought Bradley. I thought you said her name was Heather.
I was talking to Heather earlier, Jim. I was talking to Heather earlier.
Jeez. I wish you would have said something.
Call me Heather if you want to.
I'll lament.
No.
Thank you, Leon Fifield, for joining us. She is our special guest today on the Out of the Box with Jim podcast with Jim Andre. And thank you for joining us. And you have some paranormal, phenomenal experiences to share. So please, Leon, enlighten us. What's your story?
Before you start, that other name there, is that a alias or?
What was that? Sorry, Jim?
The other name, is that an alias?
Heather's the moderator.
No. No, it's just Leon Fifield. Yeah, no alias. So my experience is I was 3-year-old, and we went to live in the house my dad grew up in Swansea. My nana passed away in 1973, and I was born in 1977, so I never had the privilege to meet her. But when we moved into her house, strange phenomena would happen there. So, for example, like in the living room, we'd walk in, turn the light on, and my dad would have to run to catch the light bulb because it would fall out. But my dad's mum, dad, and his sister, who passed away when she was 12, all their coffins were in the living room. Like we'd have a service there in the house before going on to the cemetery. But my personal experience of it was my nan used to come and tell me stories at night time, bedtime stories. And they were stories about things my dad used to do and get up to when he was a little boy. I do recollect some of these things. Some of them are a bit vague because I was quite young. But I'd go back to my dad and tell him about these stories. And of course, my dad would be quite surprised because there were things he'd never told me and things I couldn't have known unless his mum had told me them herself. And so many things happened there. Like on my 4th birthday party, which we had in this house, I had a little box of Skittles set with little plastic Skittles you throw the ball at. Well, the case went missing. My mum searched everywhere, couldn't find it. And then she put me to bed in the night, shut my door, forgot something, walked back in. The Skittle case was at the bottom of my bed. But I think since we've left that house, I've had other paranormal experiences of feeling her presence. And things that have gone sort of like missing of mine would always materialize in places where they hadn't gone missing from.
And how long did this go on for?
This still happens today.
Really?
I don't see her anymore. Like I haven't seen her since I was a child. But I feel her presence still, but I haven't actually seen her. Because I was able to describe what she looked like. Because there's not very many photos of my nana, so I was able to describe her when I was little, before I'd really seen pictures of her. But I do still feel her presence with me. But the main events that happened when we were at that house.
So she actually read you bedtime stories?
Yeah, he read them all. Would tell me stories of the things, because my dad was like a little rebel when he was a young boy. Then just the mischievous things he used to get up to. So she would tell me all about it, and then I'd go back and I said, "Nanny came and told me a story last night." And because that's sort of like we weren't moving from that house because it made my mum afraid. I don't know why, but it just sort of like freaked her out so much we had to leave there. So I was quite gutted about that. And just before we'd moved in there as well, my dad renovated the house, and this is my dad's story now. But he said it back to me. He had a dream one night that I was playing in the house, that particular house he grew up in, whilst it was being renovated, and there was a hole in the staircase, and I was running, and he heard a scream, and I'd fallen through the hole in the staircase. And when he looked down, instead of me being on the floor, dead at the bottom of the hole, it was his sister, the one that died when she was 12. Now, the next day, my dad went to work in that house because it was being renovated, and there was a hole in the staircase, and this actually happened then. He heard a scream, and I felt I'd fallen through the hole. But when his heart was a ladder was then, my leg had, there wasn't anything wrong with me. But he said the strangest thing that my life then, it caught my leg and hooked me over and saved my life.
Wow.
Very
And I
strange.
guess all,
My recent experience
I
with my
guess,
nan was I had sepsis in 2019. And it was seeing my nan that made me realise how ill I was. And I was rushed to hospital and they said I got there in the nick of time. And I was in intensive care then for 3 days. But I think it was down to that saved my life from sepsis.
yeah, that must have really surprised your dad when you were telling him stories about himself that you couldn't have possibly known about, right?
Very much so, yes. And even to this day, so because he's got dementia, but he still remembers those times when I would tell him those stories. Because like, how could I possibly have known?
Right.
But I'm just glad I got to meet her, because I did actually. Well, I got to meet her spirit and her soul. So to me, that was
Yeah,
very
that's
precious.
pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean that's validation right there. You know.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to hear this one, but it's similar. During lockdown of 2020, I went for a walk and I had a best friend of mine who died when he was 16 and I was 15. And I'd been to his funeral. I hadn't been to his graveside since, but I went up there during 2020 just to sit next to his gravestone and speak to him. And I was just sitting there and talking, and all of a sudden, it was like a silk purple flower. It was a little breeze. It was a nice sunny day. A little breeze came, and this flower blew over onto his headstone and the gravel by it. And when I looked down, I could see a little bit of metal poking up through the gravel. So I'm gonna start crying out. And I picked it up, and it was his medal that he won for playing pool when we were kids.
Oh wow.
He'd come away from one of his urns, his mum and dad would put flowers in. And if that flower hadn't blown there, I wouldn't have seen that it was getting buried. So I just picked it up and I actually just popped it inside the urn on his gravestone for mum and dad. And like that was
Wow,
his way, because
that's
I was
amazing.
having a bad time that day. That was him sending me, I don't know, like everything's going to be okay and I'm fine. And I found his medal. Actually, sorry,
Yeah,
but to me that was like, wow, that was
that's
quite
amazing.
impactful.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. So I do have
So have you had any other paranormal experiences?
Yeah, I've had several sort of things. That thing with the sepsis was a mad one for me because I wasn't hallucinating, but the doctors in the hospital think I was hallucinating because my temperature was so high. But I saw my nan, but a different nan this time. It was the nan from my mum's side of the family. I just said to my husband, I don't feel well. I'm going to have a lay down on the bed. And when I was laying there, because my nan was in the room, and this gentleman who was dressed in refined clothes from like Victorian era, don't know who he is, still don't to this day know who he is, even though I could describe him. And it was when they were both there, I knew something was up, and I could hear my little girl play. And I said, Babe, will you go get daddy for me? Mammy's not well. And I said to my husband, you need to take me up to the hospital. I said, I can see my nan in the room, and there's another man in here as well. I don't know. So my husband, this was back 2018, 2019. But anyway, my husband put me in the Jeep. By the time we got to Morriston Hospital, I was unconscious. And they told my husband I was there just in time. And I was 3 days in intensive care, unconscious.
Wow.
I was in intensive care for a couple of days after I came round, and I was still in hospital for another week after that. But if I hadn't seen my nan and this gentleman in my room, the end result could have been worse. I wouldn't be here today, I don't think, anyway.
It must have pumped you with a lot of antibiotics, huh?
Yeah, they did. And I've
Wow.
got when you were saying about, because when you do the topic of abductions, I would like to speak with you about that one day because I've got an experience with that as well.
Well, yeah. Well, you can tell us about it if you want.
Again, I can't, because I've seen many, and I've got some video footage because I've followed things to do like UFO since I was young. I used to go to UFO conferences. The guy who went with the UFO magazine, we used to go to Leeds, Sheffield, just to travel on a few of them. But my experience is more of I was holding somebody's hands, and they took me to what looked like it was sterile type room, as if I was in a hospital. And I remember saying to my parents, and still to this day, my dad said, "This is your imagination, babe. That's never happened." But it was as if I was going to have an operation. But my parents, and I haven't had an operation as a child. But I remember holding this hand. It was a man, but I can't remember his face. every time I tried to picture his face, I can't see it. But I didn't feel scared. But he took me to show me this room, so he could let me know that everything would be okay. But I do remember there being just like a metal bed. It's the only way I can describe it. Metal table then. And I can remember then something being in my mouth, and I can remember, to me, I was vomiting blood, and that's about all I can really remember.
Now this was during an abduction, or
During an abduction, when I tried to put piece together, and this happened before I started following anything. I was about 5 or 6 year old, and I've also had experiences of missing time as well through to my adult life. But that thing of the abduction, looking back, I'm just wondering if it's something that I was maybe experimented on. I've been offered to have like hypnotherapy to try and remember.
well, I think a lot of the abductions, or most of them, are to do with biological experimentation on humans anyway. But have you had
Yeah.
any ongoing connection with that at all? Any type of phenomenon that's occurred since then, or
No, only seeing objects that seem to just, I know it sounds weird, seem to follow me around then. It's
yeah,
like, but I'll get a sense that they're there before I even see it. And then I'll turn, because I've seen the most vivid one though, was down Penllygau Woods. And it was just in the middle of the trees, and it was hovering above the ground, looked metallic, and it was egg shaped.
uh,
And I remember the lady did actually walk down when she was walking her dog, and I just said, "Excuse me," I said, "Can you see that?" And she actually saw it as well. And
well,
then it just disappeared. As soon as it didn't shoot off or anything, it just disappeared.
We do have a question for you, Leon. I'd just like to say thank you for joining us, Vic Makaroff, Scott Hammonds, Hub Sprougens, David Nash, and thank you for all those who contributed in the group in the show forum. Vic Makaroff is saying, Leon, can I ask if your senses have developed to allow you to experience this stuff you're going through?
I would say yes. Yeah, they have. But I've never. I think I should try and investigate it further. But I tend to try and. I don't know whether I get afraid, so I try to shut that off. Whereas realistically, I should try and engage with it more.
Yeah.
To answer that question, yeah, I think they have, but then I get anxious, I suppose. Not so much with
Yeah.
the ghost thing. Like, I'm not afraid of the experiences that I've seen my nan or my friend Lee, the one that passed away, but the abduction side of things, that makes me feel quite anxious, and I try to not engage when I feel
right.
those senses about.
Yeah.
So would you consider that abduction a negative experience, or
I would, apart from when I was holding that person's hands, and I can't remember their face, because their face is just completely blank. It was what happened after, the something in my mouth and vomiting blood. That was the negative side for me, and much past that, then I try not to. And I've only once since, and I was in a dream. I've only dreamt this once, and that was actually just a couple of years ago, so quite fairly recent considering this happened quite some time ago. Because I'm 46 now. This happened when I was around about 5. That the abduction experience. Um, and again, I knew it was the same person, but again, I couldn't see the face. There was no face, but I just knew it was that person that took me to see this sterile room. But I think at that point, that experience was them trying to, or them or him, showing me that everything was okay. But it was how I felt afterwards that I didn't feel okay, and that's what makes me feel quite anxious. So I'm shaking a bit
yeah?
now
Well,
talking about
being abducted to begin with is invasive anyway. So I mean,
it.
it's
Yeah.
I
Vic
mean,
Makaroff,
anything we
obviously,
experience could be positive or negative. Go ahead, Bradley.
Vic Makaroff says, so you obviously experienced sleep paralysis, Leon.
I get sleep paralysis often. Yeah, I get that quite a lot, and that's scary. But I'm starting to learn to control it a little bit, in the sense of I try to pull myself out of it, because but I can't move. Extreme fear. I guess really loud ringing in my ears. It becomes really intense. When I try to call, but I can't. I literally can't. I can't speak. I can't move. But the only way I've managed to control it lately is to tell myself everything's okay, everything's fine. And I try to then bring myself out of it. But I can now bring myself out of it where I can start to feel my body relax and I can move again. But I've been having sleep paralysis all my life, really. Up until, say, the last couple of years, I haven't had it as often, but I normally get it several nights a week for years on end. And I went to the doctors about it in the end, and my doctor couldn't explain it. But yeah, I'm quite familiar with sleep paralysis.
Thank you. Shout out to Tom Edward Evans who's watching the show. Thank you for watching. Hi there, Tom. Hi there, Vic. Hi there, Hub. Thank you for watching. Yeah, so was you scared, frightened, alarmed? Did you feel traumatized in any of this process, Leon?
With the sleep paralysis or with the actual abduction kind of experience?
Or both.
Yeah. Yeah, with the sleep paralysis, I don't get so scared of it now because I'm so used to it. But
Wow.
I'd say, yes, but for years, it was every time it happened, it petrified, really scared. But now it doesn't scare me anymore. I don't know whether it's just because I've gotten used to it or whether it's because I've learned to get myself out of it. And I don't actually know how I learned to get myself. It was more of like I would in my own head say, right, I've got control of this. Because even though I couldn't move and I can't speak, and that noise in my ears. And well, the last time it actually happened, I was in Bluestone in Tenby. I took my children on holiday, and that is the night I first managed to learn to get control of it. Because amongst the high pitched noise, I could hear my little girl screaming. So I've got 4 children, 3 boys and a girl, and amongst that noise, I could hear my little girl screaming for me. And that helped me to get control, and I could feel my body starting to move, and I crawled out of the bed, was able to move. Then I went straight to my daughter, and she was asleep in bed because we were there on holiday. But that was the night that I actually managed to learn, because when I heard her screaming for me, it gave me the ability then to like, right, I've got to get up, I've got to make sure my baby girl's okay. So I'm gonna start crying again now. But that was the night that I managed to take control of the sleep paralysis. And actually, since then, I haven't had the sleep paralysis as often as I used to up until that point.
Yeah.
And as for the abduction thing, yeah, the scare, because for years afterwards, I was asking my parents, like, I've had an operation, and they were like, you've never had an operation. They said, you've dreamt it. I was like, no, I didn't dream it. Right? It happened. And as I said, the guy that showed me the room, I didn't find that scary, because when I was holding his hand, I thought, like, okay, I feel safe enough. But when I think back to the whole situation, was very strange. Yeah, very bizarre.
Yeah.
But I am possibly thinking of going through hypnotherapy to see if I can uncover those memories. Just so I
Yeah,
know exactly.
that's a good option. I mean, if that's something you're interested in doing.
I didn't think I
Bradley,
wanted to. I think I would like to now, just because I would like to fill in those missing pieces that I can't remember.
Right. Bradley, you got a compliment there on your blue waistcoat.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I thought I'd wear blue today. Blue, ice blue. Ice blue is ice below 0, and I think I'm which is cool. So I thought I'd wear that today on your show, Jim.
You
My favorite color as well. I love that color.
You never had any signs of like any implants or anything like that, or like strange marks during the course of time, or
No.
no?
My husband has. My husband's got like, and it's weird. It looks like he's got an implant, because sometimes it's like a triangular shape. Like, right. Yeah. So it's very, it looks like
Ask Bradley what I get up over this. Bradley, you see where she said that? Bradley,
What's that, Jim?
show Bradley what you just showed us.
My husband, yeah, he's got like a triangular shape on by here in his head, which we believe might be an implant. My husband's got, this is before I even met him. My husband was abducted.
What I get on my forehead, Bradley.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen I've seen the devil on Jim's head.
No.
I've seen an extraterrestrial which looked great on Jim's head before, amazingly. And, no Photoshop. definitely, it was a real deal. Yeah, Jim has also got an implant as well, haven't you, Jim, on your hand?
Yeah.
Have you ever shown the doctor that, Jim? Have you got
No,
implant?
I'm going to though because Dedrick's going to set me up with getting this tattoo tested, the ink and all that. So
Crazy, isn't it? But yeah, I know he is because I know my husband was abducted when he was about 11-year-old because him and 3 of his friends, and for years they never spoke about it, but it happened. They all had missing time. They were missing for 4 hours, and their parents were all out looking for them. But to them, they weren't missing time. They were in one spot on the park or with their bikes, and the next thing you know, their parents were coming towards them, going mad, like, where have you been? It's well past they come home time. But to them, they hadn't moved. They'd been there the whole time, but 4 hours had gone.
Yeah.
It is mad. But I'll send Brad, because I've got, they're on this phone, but I have saved them onto a hard drive. I'll send through the video footage of the objects I take video footage of.
I'd like to respond to this, Jim. John Wilkes says Bradley seems bent on pushing fear and terror. We live in a chaos realm, and in this chaos realm is fear and terror. It's all around us, and the guests are coming on to express their views, their experiences, and of fear and terror that they've had to, their dilemmas they've had to challenge. They've been challenged with fear and terror, and like, is it fair that they're challenged with fear and terror? No, it's not fair, is it? It's not fair. But like, they have been challenged with fear and terror. We all have. Jim has. I have. So like, we live in a chaos realm. So, like, we just got to deal with it. And are we made of iron? Are we made of iron? Yes, we are.
It's part of the journey. You know, it's a lesson. Life is a journey to be experienced, not a problem to be solved.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your contribution to the forum. David Wilkes says, alumni spirits. Hi there, David.
Someone's saying, I like it when Jim and Bradley Powers work together. I don't know who it is though, because it says Facebook user.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's right.
I like it better when we.
I
like it better when Bradley and I disagree.
Jim is the American Bradley Powers, and I love it when Jim wears a hat. I would do it. Yeah. So, your experiences, when did they happen? When you was younger?
Yeah, they are younger, and like, well, the most recent one was that one I was telling about my friend, the one who died at the graveyard. So even though I didn't see him, I talked to him for ages, and of course that flower came up to my foot, and then I found his medal. And to me, that was something there, just based on the conversation I was having with him. And then I kind of knew that everything would be fine when I found his medal. And the mad thing was, I saw his mother 2 days later, and I haven't seen his mother for over 20 years. And I told her about it. And I told her,
there was a lot. And there was a lot of years that went by before you went to his gravesite.
Yeah, it was mad. Really mad, but precious at the same time.
Yeah. Did you actually see your grandmother come through in the flesh, or was she transparent?
Transparent, but both, because I remember being transparent, but I do remember vividly seeing her one day actually in the flesh, standing in the doorway of that house.
Wow. Yeah. Because some spiritual entities know how to manifest in the flesh, believe it or not. Witnesses on 2 occasions myself, but I know this to be true. Some spiritual entities know how to manifest in the flesh when they are apparitions in front of you. They manifest in the flesh. They know how to do it, but not all spirits. Some do. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And there are psychic mediums out there who can actually, materialistic mediums, that can actually bring through spirits in the flesh as well. Big Mackerel says, can I ask again, because I'm curious, Leon, when you are experiencing sleep paralysis, what is actually present when you experience this phenomenon?
Well, I've never actually seen anyone in the room, but I've felt a presence. So when it happens, the first time I know it's coming on, because it starts off with that loud ringing in my ears, and that's when I feel the fear. the only way I could describe it. But I feel a presence in the room, but I can't see anything. And like sometimes my eyes are open and sometimes they're closed. But I feel that there's someone there, but I don't see anyone there. And I feel like like a pressure on my chest. But I don't know whether the fear is because I can't move.
Yeah. Have you ever been touched by a spiritual entity, Leon?
But since I heard my, I'm just going to wait to see if
Leon?
she ever brings it up to me or with me. Yes, I've never actually seen anybody there during sleep paralysis, but felt the presence. If that answers the question.
I can't hear you, Bradley.
I can't believe it. I've just got phone.
I've brag on quiet. I was thinking there's gone a bit quiet.
I can't hear you.
I can't hear him. Can you hear him?
I can't hear him, no.
We can't hear you, Bradley.
I'm gonna come back in again. I'm gonna leave and come back in again.
All right. Yeah, his sound.
How long have you been doing this, then?
Huh?
How long have you been doing these podcasts?
Oh, about a year or so. A couple of years, I guess. Bradley's been doing it longer than I have.
Yeah, he's great, Bradley. Where in America are you based?
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
Nice. Sunshine.
Yeah, Sunshine State.
Hi there.
Welcome back.
Hi there. Can you hear me
I'm
now?
gonna have to, I've got to go back home. But oh, he's back. Hi, Brad.
Hi there, Leon. You're bringing all the ghosts and spirits, and you're attracting so much energy and attention. Phenomenal world of spiritual entities. That's what I reckon. Shane Gilm says, I had the same experience with the dark presence. I've learned to beat the fear. It's possible, to beat the fear. It's possible to beat the fear.
Yeah, because when you fear, you actually feed them.
But I think that's what's in. But was that with the sleep paralysis? Yeah, that's why I don't get afraid of it anymore. After I heard my little girl screaming, that was the last scary episode I had of sleep paralysis. But when I have it now, it doesn't scare me anymore.
No, good. That's right. What doesn't kill you will only.
Bradley got a message here. It says, my wife had a scar on her back by a child, Bradley Powers.
Wow, really? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. My sister-in-law was in a room and she got 6 scratch marks on her back, standing in a chamber where I summoned and conjured, using words of power from the occult. We had a big massive mirror. A monk was in the mirror, and this young girl that he had murdered come through in spirit, and she scratched my sister-in-law's back in 6 places, and the lesions, you could see the blood. The blood. Wow. The skin was broke. Yeah, the claw marks were very unpleasant. And she felt her back was very. She said my back's very, very sore. We lifted up her dress and we saw 6 scratch marks that actually appeared. Wow. And Hub has actually got a question for you, Jim. What is your healing ability? Like adjusting bones or getting pains away? And what about you, Bradley? What can you do? Oh, right. Okay. What can we do, Jim?
Well, it's not targeted to any one area. It's actually all areas where it's operable. I mean, I've been successful on many occasions. Bradley has met people. I've helped out with terminal illnesses such as cancer and things like that. So,
reason why me and Jim Andre are together. Jim Andre's words are binding, please, may I add. And I have spoken to some of the people that Jim has actually performed therapy on, and they were cancer patients, and Jim has removed their cancer from them. And hospitals are baffled by this. phenomenon, and they don't understand it. It's called quantum physics, if you want to know what it really is. And Jim is a quantum healer,
Well,
although like scientists.
it's energetic healing. It's energetic healing. Um,
There's
I
quantum
don't, I
physics.
don't,
Ben's
I don't charge for it. I just, help
Wow,
people out that I happen to stumble upon.
that's awesome.
Jim is very humble. He's very modest. He's very grumpy. But like he is he's a
That
legend because he
all,
heals people, he helps people, and he doesn't charge for his services. He helps people, he shines on people, with a bright light, and he heals them of cancer, tumors,
the,
removes tumors
the
that science cannot understand and comprehend. It's beyond human comprehension what Jim Andre
What
can
you can
do
do.
to
the
his patients.
the
I've
grumpiness
got another
hinges.
mad story about what happened when I was in hospital when I had sepsis. If you want to hear that, it just reminds me of something when you said about healing. So when I said I had sepsis and I went to hospital, well, anyway, when I came out of the coma, intensive care, and I was on the ward, I was used to seeing the nurses, the regular nurses. Well, anyway, this one night, a nurse came in to change my drip, who I hadn't seen before. And she said to me, when you come out of hospital, she said, I want you to start taking propolis every day. Now, I'd never even heard of this propolis. And I was just looking at her daft, and she tore the box of tissues on the side of my bed. She tore it, put the tissue off, wrote down propolis, and put it in my handbag. So I thought nothing. And that's the only time I saw this particular nurse. So when I came out of hospital, I said to my husband, I saw this nurse came to see me, and she told me to start taking propolis. And he said, "Oh, baby, you were hallucinating. Your temperature was so high, you imagined it." Well, anyway, looked through my bag, and I found it. This thing that she'd written. And it turns out propolis is bees make it. They use it to protect their hive.
Uh,
Yeah.
And if I take it in its raw form, it's like tree bark. But that apparently cures cancer as well. But I take a little bit of it every day now. I normally like grate it up a bit and put it in like yogurts and stuff. But I
yeah,
thought that
well,
was a strange experience because I saw all the other nurses because I was in hospital for a while. She was it's the only time I ever saw her. And for her to come out and say something like that. But this propolis, it sort of like helps prevent cancer and not cures it, but will prevent it. But it's also
yeah,
like an antibiotic, a natural antibiotic.
yeah. They also use honey to heal wounds, like like on ulcers on the legs and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I thought that was crazy because I thought I was just looking at her stupid when she came and she said, I thought I've never heard of propolis. So I looked it up then when I got home and I just buy it offline now in its rare form because you can buy it in capsules, but I tend to like just having it as it is, scraped straight from the beehive.
One of the best honeys for healing is Manuka honey.
And I said, yeah, I've heard of that.
Manuka, yeah. Bradley, as far as the grumpiness, it all depends on which way you rub my fur.
Oh, so fire alarm had gone off then.
Lovely, lovely.
Then it's gone off now though.
Jim, you're grumpy. I know why you're grumpy. It's because you're nearly 70.
No,
That's
no,
why
no, no. It all depends.
Well,
It
you're
all
looking
depends.
good for 70, Jim. Fair play.
Oh, thank you. It all depends on which way you rub my fur. That's what the grumpiness is all about.
Brilliant.
Jim's grumpy because I am spontaneously random and I'll come to Jim sometimes like minutes before the show. Like, let's do a show. Like, yeah,
Brilliant.
I roughly bouquet sometimes. I admit that. Okay. Yeah, so Hub was asking what Jim is very humble, very modest, and Jim is a genuine quantum healer. His words are binding, his words hold clarity, he uses words of power, he uses sound, frequency, and vibration to heal people who have therapeutic therapy with Jim for like 20-minute sessions. He heals
Yeah,
them. Like, I might have to go to see Jim 3 times, but
yeah.
Jim will heal them. And
It's
Jim has
all
that
it's all
ability.
it's all energy
Yeah,
based. All got to do with energy. Yeah.
that's fantastic.
And I've been blessed with many paranormal phenomenal gifts. I've experienced many much phenomena. Although the thing with me is I don't know how to switch it on and switch it off. It comes and goes at random. I've
Yeah.
experienced remote viewing, mind reading, telepathy, um, uh, clairvoyance, voice hearing. I've experienced a variety of diverse paranormal phenomena, and I can only put it down to why me? Why have I been chosen for this paranormal phenomena? And I can only put it down to the fact that maybe it's because I'm an indigo child born in the 1960s. That could be, it's the only reason I can come up with. A psychic told me I was an indigo child, and that could possibly be true. I don't know how to switch my gifts on or off. They come up random. Spirits just come and talk to me like they know me for millennia. They don't, and I know they are, and they know who I am, and we don't have to introduce ourselves. We just start talking, and like telepathy is amazing. It's like they're sitting beside you. There is the talking of voice is talking in your head from a conscious-minded energy, and it's like that person sitting beside you, you know. And like I've encountered angels, devils, demons, the fae, all kinds of spiritual entities, and I've learnt that not everything is as it seems, and I've also learnt that anything is possible. To be honest with you, that's
What you
why I
got to
open
do,
my
what you got to do is figure out what strikes your fancy the most, what you're interested in, and start practicing it. Get serious
yeah,
about it. That's what you got to do.
yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, hi there, Nicole Lowe. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, thank you. Vic Makroff has got a question for you, Leon. Do you feel your experiences are intensifying or getting less at the moment due to the less fear of the element annoying you?
Yes, less. Since I've managed to learn to control it and the fear's not there anymore, yeah, definitely. I'm having less experience now that I've got more control over the
Yeah.
sleep paralysis side of things. But seeing that I haven't seen any the UFOs as often I was seeing them either over the last couple of years. Those experiences have lessened as well. I
I'm
say less.
familiar with
I still see them fairly often, just not as often. But then again, I look at the sky most nights anyway. I spend a lot of time looking up at the sky.
yeah. I've experienced sleep paralysis, so I know how you feel. On 3 occasions I've experienced sleep paralysis, but you experienced it many times, haven't you, Leon?
Many times.
That's quite
Yeah,
astonishing.
many times. To the point
And
where it's got
in my
shocked
case, I
me.
believe it was spiritual, although I never actually saw them. I believe it was spirit. Some say it's science. It's science is the reason why you experience sleep paralysis. But I believe in my case it was spiritual. Although some people believe in their case it was extraterrestrial. So it's
Yeah,
different for everybody.
they do.
But
Like
I
yeah,
was
my
alarmed
doctor
when I
said,
first experienced it.
my doctor tried to explain it that it was me going into REM sleep, but then becoming awake while I'm still in REM sleep, so your body's still paralyzed. So that's the science side of things. But I don't believe that it's scientific in my case. It could be in some people's, but in my case, it was more, I would say, extraterrestrial rather than spiritual. I don't know why. I don't know why I've actually even just come out and said that, but to me, it just feels more to do with the experience I had of the abduction is how I feel my sleep paralysis is with me anyway. And I think that when I heard my little girl screaming that time, I don't know whether I feared that the same thing was happening to her. I don't know. But yeah, to me, I'd say it was more the abduction experience.
Yeah, yeah. So
I was gonna say,
and
is it okay? Because my dad's trying to get a call through to me as well. Is it okay if I leave the meeting? And I would love to come back if I could be invited to more. I'd appreciate
oh,
that.
okay. What, you want to kill the show early? 40 minutes.
No,
Okay.
not so early. But as I'm on my phone, the message popped up. It's going, ring me, babe, ring me, babe. My dad. So I was like, what's going on? My dad
Vic
never messaged
Mackroff
me.
Vic Mackroff is asking, have you experienced any portholes or leeways around you, Leon? Portholes or ley lines?
Um, no, no. I would say I've had like no. I would say no on that actually.
Right.
Maybe
And
once
Nicole
about
Lowe said,
words that has well, it's just hard to describe. I've had senses that there was something that has happened down Ravenhill Park, which sounds very strange, and Pensley Woods a couple of times where I've had this as if I carried on walking, I was going to go through a portal. I've never actually even told anybody this either, because but I wouldn't. Again, it was like but it made me feel unsafe feeling that if I was going to carry on going forward, I would have gone somewhere where I didn't me to be going. And then I turned around and took a different route.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
but for the poll, that's so strange. I was asked that question. Like nobody's ever asked me anything like that before. But
Yeah,
that,
feel
I have
free
had
to
that.
share anything, Leon, because we are believers and like we can understand, empathize, and tune into what you're saying as well.
I'm saying,
Because
yeah, and this is why I think it's so amazing. It's amazing to be able to get this off my chest and talk to
yeah,
people that I can't talk to people about things like this without them thinking she's doolally. But yes,
Yeah,
so,
it's,
so
yeah,
the
it's
no
good
poll
to
one.
thing,
find. It's good to find like-minded people. Yeah.
yes, indeed, very much so. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
the times when I had that sense of walking, same routes they've taken down Pensley Woods many times. And it was a sense of, yeah, if I keep going through that, I'm going to go through somewhere into somewhere else, and that's not where I want to be. So I've turned around and gone in the different direction.
yeah, yeah.
And it was like, yeah, like sixth sense feeling then. That's the only way I can describe it. It was just, yeah,
So,
something drawing me towards it, and then I wanted to pull back the other way.
have you attracted any other spiritual entities apart from your grandmother?
No, apart from that gentleman, when I had sepsis, when I was about to go into the coma, that gentleman was dressed in refined clothes from like Victorian era. And to this day, I have
Yeah,
no clue who he is. I've described him to family members, like my elders in the family, who may have known him as a grandfather or an uncle or something. But no, apart from him, no, there's
Vic
only two.
Makarov. Vic Makarov says, so how are these things coming and going and around you? Where do you suspect they're coming from, Leon?
Um, I don't know because I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. So that like religion brings people faith and comfort is great, but so to me they're not coming from a place of I don't know. They seem to materialize when I need help or I'm in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, well, okay. That's
That's about the only other
interesting.
way to describe it. Yes, like if because my mum abused me as a child, but then there were times when I was taking a beating off her so bad that or other people are hurting me really bad, but all of a sudden I can think something to happen to them, not to harm them severely, but harm them enough to keep them away from me. And it's happened like when I was being attacked by my mum, she broke her leg one time, but I was like, and another when I was being attacked by somebody else, they wound up falling and breaking their arm. And it's just like I didn't do it, but I was not wishing, but wanting so much for someone to help me that like this
Right.
random freak accident had happened to them and they couldn't attack me anymore. It's strange to explain because it hasn't happened every single time. Like sometimes, so I don't know. I wish I could learn how to actually do that every time I need to, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like it's happened and I don't know how. I feel it's me that's managed to make that happen, but I don't know how I did it. It's so strange talking about things like this as well. Things I've never told people before.
Well, there's a lot of things that go on. A lot of people don't realize. We're each on a journey of our own experience, and a unique journey of our own. So
Yeah, it's true, exactly. No. So is it, sorry if I'm going to end it early, but is it okay if I go?
sure,
So I just need to
we'll
check
have
my
you.
dad. He's
We'll
never
have
had
you
this.
on it. We'll have you on again someday.
I really hope so because I really appreciate you having me on. I've really enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, so I go and I'll check my dad's okay, and I'll see you all soon.
Okay.
All right, thank you for
Take
your
care.
time, Leon.
Bye.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for sharing your phenomenal paranormal experiences. And
Bye-bye.
everyone, we are all like-minded viewers. All the audience are like-minded viewers, and no one will mock you here. So don't worry about that. Okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you for
Thank you, guys.
joining us.
You all have a great day, evening. Not sure where you all are, but time of day or night. Have a good night and a good day.
Oh, you as
Take care.
well.
All.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye
Bye-bye.
now.
Bye. Well, we're here by our lonesome.
It's me and you, Jim. I'll get my score out. Can you hear me okay, Jim? That's all right. Just had a phone call and my volume's dropped.
Yeah, you sound like you're low volume again.
Well, Jim, we've been broadcasting 45 minutes. Is there anything you'd like to talk about, Jim?
No, I guess we can end the show now, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. And
Well, thank
we'll
you
see
for
you
being
all on the next
hospitable
one.
to Leon. Liana's a friend of mine, and I know quite well. And yeah, like thank you for listening to her share her experience, and thank you for contributed in the show forum as well. Thank you for your contribution,
Yeah.
Makarov.
Thank you
Thank
for the
you
interaction.
for
And
everything you said.
we'll see
And
you all in
yeah,
the next one.
it just goes to show you paranormal phenomena is real. It's out there. It's happening to all different people. We're not Fruit Loops. We're not crazy. We're not mad. We have been targeted, and there is a reason. There's a message
Right.
in our dilemma, and we have to work out what the message is by looking within, and that's
There's
the
a
way it
reason
goes.
for
And it's
everything.
different for everybody. Okay, and
All right.
thank you for joining us.
See you all in the next one.